Okay, hello and welcome everyone to Engineers Ireland Global Engineers event. Today we're celebrating engineers who come from South and Central America to make a great impact on the island of Ireland. My name is Michael Gallagher, I'll be your host for today, and I work with the Engineers Ireland membership team. My email contact, should you wish to follow up, is on screen, and you'll also find some helpful links in the description below for the recording for anyone who's joining us not live. My colleague Marina will now introduce the event.
Hello, hola, buenos días y bienvenidos a todos a este seminario web de ingenieros organizado por Engineers Ireland. Como dijo mi hijo, mi nombre es Marina y trabajo para el equipo de desarrollo profesional continuo que llamamos CPD de Engineers Ireland. El seminario web de hoy será en inglés, pero antes de comenzar quisiera darle la bienvenida a todos los ingenieros de América Central y de América del Sur que han estado considerando unirse a nosotros como miembros. Engineers Ireland será su hogar profesional al mudarse a Irlanda y es un gran lugar para continuar desarrollándose profesionalmente y aprender nuevas habilidades. Van a poder conocer gente nueva y acceder a excelentes oportunidades para crecer y desarrollarse. Y sabemos que mudarse a Irlanda se ha vuelto más desafiante con el inicio de las restricciones de viaje de COVID-19. Pero a continuación, mi hijo y Juan Pablo les van a dar información general sobre Engineers Ireland y también la información más reciente sobre cómo mudarse a Irlanda. Así que muchas gracias y espero que disfruten el seminario.
Thank you so much, Marina. That was an absolutely fantastic introduction. I really appreciate it. And to move on to the substance of today's presentation, talking about the topics which we'll be covering. We're going to talk briefly about the certified membership, all aspects of why you might join Engineers Ireland if you've never heard of us, or if you are a member, maybe how you can make the most of your membership. We'll talk about the different aspects, and finally we'll have a presentation by Dr. Juan Pablo Osorio, and it's a really special and exciting presentation from someone who's come from South and Central America to really make an impactful career in Ireland. So yeah, starting with the professional titles, there are 4 professional titles which Engineers Ireland protect and register, and these range from engineering technician to associate engineer to chartered engineer and fellow. These are different from your primary qualifications like your bachelors of engineering, insofar that these are, you will be assessed by a panel of your peers who already have obtained the titles, and a lot of it will be about your professional competencies that you've acquired since graduating. Juan Pablo is a chartered engineer, so he'll be able to give a really exciting insight into that aspect. To speak about Engineers Ireland, it's a great place to be a member because we have so much international recognition. Whether that's with the Washington Accords, who we are a signatory with people all over around the world, including Peru. Any Peruvian engineers watching we're delighted to be in the Washington Accord with them. But also the ENEA, which is the European Network for Accredited Engineering Education. So it's a real kind of special place in the world where we have all this recognition with countries both in the EU and not in the EU. An important part about being a member of Engineers Ireland is the fact that as an engineer, you're continually professionally developing yourself, whether you're doing that in the workplace or with self-directed learning, or whether you are doing further education. So we call this CPD, or Continuous Professional Development. And through being a member, you can kind of keep active log of all your CPD and also have a good tracker on upcoming CPD events. So it's a great way to kind of continually professionally develop yourself as an engineer and to make sure that you can be the best engineer that you can be. As an organization, we're big in our networking spaces about grouping you with other engineers who you can get involved with, whether that's discipline-based with your division, or whether that's a society of people who have a common interest. We're really fortunate today that our speaker, Juan Pablo, he is a committee member of the Geotechnical Society. So there's loads of interesting and exciting opportunities there. There's also the STEPS program with Engineers Ireland. If you're thinking about moving to Ireland with your family, the STEPS program is one where it's all about encouraging the next generation of engineers through visiting schools, the little schools and the high schools. And what you could do here as a global engineer, someone new to Ireland, is you could find out about what schools are in your area and how you might get involved with them. So it's a really great way to kind of get to know the local area if you're new to Ireland. We have an engineer's journal where you can keep up with the latest in engineering knowledge. So there's excellent thought leadership, and it's divided into different categories based on what your discipline of engineering might be. So there's loads of articles, and you can contribute yourself in writing your own articles. It's an interesting space. We also have Engineers TV, where there is many presentations of past lectures and webinars on technical topics. So if you want to work or develop in a particular area, you can go into the Engineers TV and you can do it on your own time. For those who are kind of career focused and they're looking for a job in Ireland, we have a jobs desk on our website where you can find out about opportunities that are live and active. And yeah, it's a great way to kind of link in with that. Our other recordings on the YouTube channel also have presentations from recruiters who are actively recruiting for roles. So there's another way that you could start looking for a job. If you want to join Engineers Ireland, it's very simple. The link is in the description of the recorded video below. All our applications are online through our website. So just go to engineersireland.ie and there'll be many opportunities to join now. The main things that we'll need is your personal details, the details of your qualification, who is your employer, and then there's a payment of €280. For those joining overseas, the special link in the description is all about joining from overseas. So we talk about how to verify your qualification, and we have a special service where you can internationally verify your qualification. And there's just more tailored information around mutual recognition agreements. If you're lucky enough to have an agreement or a professional title in one of our countries where we mutually recognize, you can get that recognized here. Well, I've talked long enough, so I'm delighted now to introduce our speaker for today. Dr. Juan Pablo Osorio is a chartered engineer with Engineers Ireland, and he's a lecturer at the School of Civil and Structural Engineering at the Technological University of Dublin. He has over 16 years of experience as a lecturer and researcher in Ireland and Colombia, and as a consultant for infrastructure, residential and industrial projects. His areas of expertise include foundation engineering, soft soil and peat behaviour, and ground improvement. He is currently a committee member of the Geotechnical Society of Ireland. He is Ireland's representative on the International Soil Mechanics Society Committee, Technical Committee on Foundations Engineering for Difficult Soft Soil Conditions. Juan Pablo, thank you so much for giving up your time today, and I'd be delighted to hand it over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen now and allow you to share your screen, but thank you again.
Michal, thank you very much for that presentation, and thank you for inviting me today and for having me here. Before I start, I want to say hello to everybody in Spanish. So, bienvenidos a todos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Muchas gracias por el interés que tienen en venir a Irlanda. Si ustedes son ingenieros, pues realmente Engineers Ireland va a ser su hogar. Aquí es donde tenemos la representación profesional y es el lugar donde vamos a obtener las licencias adecuadas para poder practicar. El día de hoy voy a dar una pequeña charla, va a ser en inglés, sobre mi experiencia en venir a Irlanda. Lo que he hecho para estar donde estoy hoy aquí, cómo han sido los procesos, qué decisiones he tenido que tomar. Entonces, realmente pues va a ser una charla más enfocada en el tema de los procesos de planeación. So I'm going to move on now to English. Thank you very much, Michal, again. So I will be getting started. So just allow me to share my screen here. It's this one, I think it is. So please do let me know if you're seeing that now.
I'm seeing it and it looks perfect. Thank you so much, Juan Pablo.
Okay, so that's fine. So thank you very much again for this. This is the event in South and Central American Global Engineers. My name is Juan Pablo Osorio, as I said. Welcome to all of you who are watching now live and to all of those who will be watching later on. As Michal said there, I'm a lecturer at Technological University of Dublin, particularly in the School of Civil and Structural Engineering. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about the university first of all. So Technological University Dublin it's Ireland's first technological university. It's the largest university as well, with over 29,000 students, as you can see there. It has programs at all levels and in all different areas, ranging from level 6 to level 10. And I will be speaking in detail about what that means, and in different areas, particularly in STEM areas, which includes engineering. So there is a lot of opportunities there for education, or for either undergraduate or further education as at postgraduate levels. Technological University Dublin, it's basically based in Dublin, and it has 3 different campuses, one in city center, comprised by several buildings in different parts of city center, with the main one being in Grange Gorman, and it has 2 other campuses, one in Blanchardstown at north of Dublin and one in Tallaght south of Dublin. Now you can find more about the university at the link there, it's tudublin.ie. And I'm part of the School of Civil and Structural Engineering. We have different courses. We have courses from level 6 to level 9 directly in the school, but we are also heavily involved at level 10, being doctoral degrees, being by research. I'm currently supervising one PhD student in RAM Earth, which is basically Tapia. But there's different interest in different levels, and we have multiple research projects. Now, I think that's enough about the university, and I'm gonna be talking about moving to Ireland. And what I want to share with you guys today is the process that I had to go through. Now, I graduated as a civil engineer in Colombia at Universidad FIT around 2003. And then I went on to Mexico to do my master's degrees in geotechnical engineering. And I'm mentioning this because as part of my life plan, it was always the idea of going into further education, into postgraduate degrees. And I always wanted to do it abroad. And I initially started by going into Mexico. But throughout the years, I learned that all of these things have a process, because then after that, I went back to Colombia, then I moved to Ireland to do my PhD, and so on and so forth. And I've been moving around a little bit. And I've always approached this as an engineer because I have no other way of doing it. So the first advice I want to give you is treat this as any other project, as you would do with any other project. And you're all engineers, and you know how to work in a project. So the first thing you need to have in mind and to have clear in your head is, what is your strategic plan? Why do you want to move abroad? Why do you want to go? And ask yourself that. And throughout my presentation, I will be putting these slides with different questions that I think you should answer, because I don't have the answers for you, and nobody does. Only you have your answers. So I will be putting up today a few questions, and I'll be giving you personal examples into how I think about them. But you think about them yourself and see if this is the right way for you. So having a strategic plan. Why do you want to move abroad, first and foremost? And then think about how will that affect all areas in your life, in a good or in a bad way. What are your life goals? What do you want in life? Does moving abroad align with those objectives that you have in life? How will this impact your career? Because it might propel your career, but it might stop your career back home. It might propel it internationally, and that might help your career back home, but it might not. How will that impact your personal life and your family life, because a lot of you have family, and you might want to think about that as well. What will your family win and what will your family lose? You might want to move abroad, but you might leave your parents or your spouse or your children sometimes to get a head start, and then bringing them with you. So just think about all those things. Once you have thought about that, once you have a clear idea, okay, I do want to go abroad, I think it will be good for me, I think it will help me and it will help my family, then just break the project into the phases of any project. So you have your processes, and you know your project processes include initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. These are basic steps in any project or in any management process, and I will go through them with you. Focus on the project of going abroad, and particularly coming to Ireland, because that's what I want to focus, because that's what I know. So initiating, well, you're here, you already did, you already initiated, you're already thinking about this. So I think I'll move on to the planning stage, and that is where I want to focus. So planning is the most important aspect. So when you are planning, first and foremost, do your research. Always do your research. Use credible sources to get objective information. That's very important. Go to the government websites. Go to your professional bodies, such as Engineers Ireland. They have the most up-to-date information. They have veridic or truthful information, I'd like to say, because those are the bodies that regulates everything. Now, going into blogs, going into online videos and different sources, that will give you a subjective idea. I'm not saying they're good or they're bad, but they might be outdated and they're opinion based. So it is important to see them, go into YouTube videos or into blogs, read about how people did it, how people felt. And I'm conscious that if you're looking this later on in YouTube, I am saying this is subjective, and it is my opinion. And I am going to be providing today the most up-to-date information that I can give you today, but everything changes. So information might be outdated. So you might wanna confirm everything in these credible sources. I will be giving you several websites, and Michal probably will be putting them in the description of the video below afterwards. So you can go onto them and read and get the most up-to-date information. Talk to people, if at all possible, that have gone through this process, because they will give you advice, much like the one you might get here. But if you can talk to somebody directly and get their current view on this, that is absolutely great, because you will get a feel for everything. Now, having said that, in Ireland, there is several websites that have amazing information, and this is the first one that I want to flag. It's Citizens Information that I used this website when I was coming to Ireland, initially as a student and later on as a lecturer to the university, because it has amazing information in all sorts of things and in the way of living in Ireland. So you can see here education, not only third level education, but it speaks from primary school if you have kids and you want to move with them, all the way to postgraduate. It has information about taxing, about the move to the country, the social welfare system. Currently, obviously, there's always information about the COVID-19 healthcare system. Driving licenses, everything that you want, it's there in the sense of a good summary. And it has all the links to the most relevant bodies that regulates all of that. So this is a website that you want to be looking at in detail and consulting permanently. Now, if you plan to move to Ireland to work as a professional engineer, then one thing that you have to look at in detail is employment permits. Because from Latin America, we do not have special arrangements here that I'm aware of. Maybe some countries might have it. I know Colombia does not. We barely open our embassy in Ireland in the last couple of years. So there's much work to do there, but that means that you have to hold a valid employment permit, and the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment is the one that regulates that. So you want to go to their website and read all about the employment permits there. I will be discussing them a little bit in detail later on. But one thing is your employment permit. You might actually get an employment permit, but you also need to get a visa to come in. Now, not all countries need that. So you need to go into the Department of Justice in the INIS website, which is the Immigration Service Delivery. They changed their name. It used to be INIS, now it's ISD. But you need to go there, see if you need a visa to land in the country. And there's different things. You might want to need a visa. You might not need a visa for tourism, but you might need a visa here to enter the country with an employment permit. So you need to do your research in that part. And this is an amazing website to go. It has everything there in detail. Regarding working conditions, Mihol has been organizing this type of events here, the Global Engineers event. There's one in particularly that I really enjoyed. It's the Engineers Ireland Global Civil Engineers. Now, this is not about civil engineering only. In the video, there's two recruiters that speak about all the process of coming to Ireland with a recruiter. And they give excellent tips. And there's something that you need to know. There is significant cultural differences between Ireland and Latin American countries. And I will be highlighting several of them throughout the presentation. But in this video, they describe how to produce a CV according to what is customary in Ireland, how to set up a LinkedIn profile, what type of keywords you should be putting in it so that you're prompted to the recruiters and they can see you, how to conduct an interview. And now in Ireland here, they use an interview methodology called STAR, which is situation, task, completely forgot about it. And that's why I don't usually use it because I'm not a recruiter. But you need to go there and prepare for those interviews because they are the key people that will be bringing you to the country. Now, you could get a job by yourself, but it is always good to have this type of advice from the people that actually know this. So go and watch that video. It's quite important. When you're planning your trip to Ireland and if you're coming here to work or you're coming here to study, you need to investigate several things. And the first thing is your education. And ask yourself, how does my degree compare to the qualification in Ireland? Now, this is very important because we have a big range of degrees in Latin America. There's your traditional ones like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, process, industrial. You have all of them, but we also have different ones. At least in Colombia, I know we do, such as what would be translated as topographical engineering, ingeniería topográfica, right? Or financial engineering, ingeniería financiera. And those I find quite particular ingeniería administrativa, so like business engineering. Like they stick the word engineering, that doesn't make it an engineering degree in the international standard. And you need to be very careful about that, because maybe a topographical engineering engineer, topographic, might come here and their professional body might not actually be Engineers Ireland, because that is not considered an engineering degree here, but they might be considered as a quantity surveyor, and then they have a different professional body. A financial engineer might not be considered an engineer here in the sense of their degree recognition, but they might go and register with the accounting bodies like the Charter Accountants Ireland, because they regulate all financial things. So it is important that you look at your degree. There's other things there about the levels, which I'll cover in a minute, but the first advice here is think how your degree might be considered in the country, Ireland or whatever country you plan to go, to be fair, and contact the corresponding body. So somebody like Engineers Ireland or QQI. Now, what's QQI? This is a great place to get started. QQI is Quality and Qualification Ireland, and they are the ones that regulate the Irish national framework of qualifications, and they devise the different levels. So going to their website, if you click here as an international visitor, you can actually contact them and ask them questions, and they're great at replying. I did this back, I think it was in 2009 or something like that. I was studying here for my degree, and they recognize all my qualifications. That not recognize, that's probably the wrong word, but they evaluated my degrees and they say, okay, you have a degree equivalent to this in Ireland. So that really helped when I went to Engineers Ireland, and they say, okay, you have this. Now Ireland has their own process, but this will be a great indicator for you. Now, I mentioned the Irish National Framework of Qualification, which is this. You will find this in the QQI website. And this is all the education levels in Ireland. So it starts at level 1 and it goes all the way to level 10. I'm going to be focusing here from level 7 to level 10, because these are the levels that, sorry, level 6 to level 10, because these are usually the levels that we work on. So if you have a doctoral degree, we're talking about a level 10. You can see it there, doctoral degrees or any PhD, doctoral in engineering or anything like that. A level 9 would be a master's degree, or what we call in Latin America, especialización. Now, level 9, a master's degree, it's in a maestría, so you have it there. Especialización would be a postgraduate diploma. So just be aware of those things. They are here both considered level 9, but they're at different levels. Engineers Ireland usually requires you to have a master's degree to give you a professional registered title for a charter engineer professional registered title. So be aware of those things. What we know in Latin America as a professional degree, so título de ingeniero o licenciado en ingeniería, como llaman por ejemplo en México, is what is known here as an honors bachelor degree. Now, these are usually 4-year long. In Latin America, they tend to be 5 years long. So just be aware of that. So this is where you would get your título profesional en ingeniería. If you hold a technological degree in what we know in Latin America as técnico o tecnología en Colombia, for example, or técnico superior universitario in Mexico. Those are kind of the countries I'm more familiar with. If somebody has similar terms, you can put it in the chat here, because that would be really grateful, like really helpful for everybody. You would be talking about level 6 or level 7. Level 7 here is a 3-year degree, which is pretty much equivalent to what in Colombia we have as Tecnología. In Mexico, the Técnico Superior Universitario will be also 3 years, I think. I might be just look into that. Technical would be a 2 years degree, which would be more of a level 6. So all of these are in the qualification framework in Ireland. So just so you can locate your degree and you know where to go. Now, this is important because all of this is also framed within the European framework. Now, the European framework is slightly different, but you can also go in there and compare the Irish framework with the European one. So you know where you're standing, at least in the whole of Europe, okay? Now, that is our education. That is our degrees. So a bachelor degree is a professional and título profesional en ingeniería or licenciatura. Level 9 is a master's degree or a postgraduate diploma, which is a especialización o maestría. And a level 10 is a doctoral degree, so basically a PhD, doctorado en ingeniería. So those are our titles, or our degrees. But beware, because in Ireland, and in most of Anglo-speaking countries anyway, when they talk about professional titles, they are not talking about your degree. What they are talking about is your registered title with the body that accreditates you, the professional body that gives you an accreditation. And Michal might correct me here if I'm saying something that is not correct. But the professional titles is what Michal talked at the beginning. So your engineering technician, associate, charter, or fellow engineer. So you need to think of, will my degree allow me to get further down the line a professional title that allow me to reach higher level in my professions? So for that, you need to contact Engineer Ireland. You do your research. In Engineers Ireland, you have this amazing website. These are the 4 professional titles that you get here. So for engineering technician, that is the title that you would be requiring a level 6. So this is what I mentioned about the título de técnico. The associate engineer, you would need a level 7. So you would need the técnico superior universitario o tecnólogo, dependiendo del país donde estés. Then you would get your charter engineer professional title. You will need nowadays a master's degree for this one. And to become a fellow, you would need to apply for it. I think it is 5 years after you get your charter engineer title. So these are the registered titles that will help you propel your career later on in life. So there's the link there, and you can look at it later. Now, a few more questions in the planning part. Think about why Ireland, or if you're going to any other country, why? Do you like the lifestyle there? What do you know about the country? Do you speak the language at the required level? Here, you need to speak English. There's no other way. Do you need to improve your level? Ask yourself those questions. Why do I like that country? Why do I want to go there? What do I know about it? And we all have biases and we all have stereotypes, but go deep in your research and look into this. Now, depending on your nationality and your profession, what sort of permits and visas will you need to enter the country? As I mentioned before, can you travel with your family immediately? You need to wait some time, or can you not do it? Coming here as a student, it is very hard to be allowed to bring your family. So if you have a family that you want to bring with you, you're coming to do a PhD, just be aware that you might spend 4 years without bringing your family. So it's be careful with that. But if you're coming as a critical skills worker, you can bring them immediately. If you have a general employment permit, you can wait 12 months. So just be aware of that. So just as I said down there, be your own HR department, because if you leave this to the HR department for the company or for the university, they will probably not know everything. So do your own work. You need to know your own immigration case in detail. Just be aware of all those things. Now, when you're planning to come here to work, you will probably most likely get a critical skills employment permit, because most engineering professions are there. As you can see, there's civil engineering, structural engineering, mechanical, electrical. There's a lot of them below here which couldn't fit there. So go into the Department of Enterprise website and click in this link later on and just read through the different type of employment permits you will get. As I said, getting an employment permit will not get your foot in Ireland. You will also need a visa. And once you enter the country, you need to come here and you go and register with the National Immigration Bureau, which is from the guard, the police, basically. And they will give you one of different stamps. Now, the stamps that you want are stamp 1 and stamp 4, which are the ones that allow you to work. And they will come depending on your employment permit. So if you have a critical skills employment permit, you get a stamp 1, and within 2 years, you'll be able to change to stamp 4. Remember, this is up to today. Those things might change, but it is how it works today. And then you get your stamp 4. If you come with a spouse, for example, your spouse will be getting a stamp 1G, which will allow them to work. However, if you get a general employment permit, you will be getting a stamp 1. You won't be able to change it to stamp 4 until after 5 years, and your spouse will get a stamp 3. That means your spouse will not be able to work unless they secure their own employment permit, which could be tough. Just be aware of that. If you come to study in Ireland, you will get a stamp 2. Now, there's a good thing about coming to study a level 8 to level 10 degree, that is bachelor, master's, postgraduate diploma, or doctoral degree, because after you graduate, you'll get a certain amount of time to look for a job that will allow you to get an employment permit. That means after you graduate, you get that time. I think it's 2 years for level 8 up to, or 1 year for level 8 up to 2 years for PhD. I might be wrong, just look into that. Citizens information have that very clear. And once you look for that, your employer could actually look or try to secure an employment permit for you. So just be aware of that. Budgeting, when you're planning, budgeting is absolutely critical. Be careful with direct currency conversions. They don't really work. It's not like that. Check if what you offer in a job is enough for you and your family. Here you earn in euros, but you will also be spending in euros. And this country can be quite expensive. You have multiple costs that you need to look for. Housing is really high. Here it's quite dear to rent a house. You have your utilities, food, insurance also very expensive. You might have to commute from far away. It is quite difficult sometimes to secure housing in the main city, so you might need to go a little bit rural and commute every day. So that adds up to the cost despite housing being cheaper. So just be careful. Savings you might not be able to save depending on your salary. Here you will get normally a gross income offer on yearly basis. So they offer you, I don't know, 25, 35, 45, 60, whatever they offer you. That is normally gross income yearly. So you have to be careful to see how much you will actually be earning net. And taxes, again, are quite expensive. Look into the pension possibilities. This is a hard area. Not all companies offer you a pension, and your national pension is usually not enough. So just be aware of all of those things. For example, in utilities, there might be things that you don't pay back home that you might pay here. For example, the beans, it's something, if you live in a house, you have to pay for that yourself. But here in Ireland, you don't pay for water. For example, water it's just not charged. So be aware of the cultural differences there. Now, those are more or less obvious things that I have to say. There's other things. that you need to look after. So when do you want to travel? Is that the best time to travel? So would you like to come in the winter? Some people might not have the option. You might get a job and you'll have to travel. When you have to travel, it's as simple as that. But just think about, when could you travel? When would the best time for you to travel be? Driving license, this is a tough one here in Ireland. You have to pass 2 exams, 1 theory test, and then 1 driving test. Personally, I failed the driving test 3 times after driving for several years back home in Colombia. You pick up different things, and it is quite tough. Most people here actually, and this is a very cultural thing that I found, people actually go and celebrate after passing their driving test, because it is a tough one. And I know a lot of people that have not done it. So be aware that you might not be able to drive here for a good while. Even after passing the theory test, you still need to wait for 6 months and take a few driving lessons. I think it's 12 hours before you can actually have a full driver's license. So if you have a family and you need to drive, that might be a hinder for you. Be aware of those schools. If you're traveling with family, look for the local schools. The education in Ireland is absolutely fantastic. I cannot speak highly enough of it. I am delighted of the education level here. Being a lecturer myself, I think it's great. So schools are great, but they are in high demand. So just look for the local schools for you. Learn about the culture. Look, I cannot stress this enough. You need to learn the culture, see what they do here, what they like, and try to make as many arrangements as possible in advance. Maybe contact some landlords, maybe contact some schools. Try to get something. If you can transfer your driving license from your country to here, which I don't know if from Latin America you could do it, or if you have a driving license in another European country, that would really help. Well, that's the planning. Ask yourself a lot of questions. Then let's go to executing now. When you're in the country, keep your objective in mind. That will be vital for you. Because sometimes things can become frustrating. Once you're here, things are disappointing. Sometimes you're missing your family. So it is hard. So keep always in your head, why do you want to move? Or what prompted you to move? Mingle with the locals. Nobody knows Ireland better than the Irish. They will teach you the good, the great, the bad. They will teach you everything. But also keep contact with people from your own country, because they have great tips in how to adapt. Because you need to adapt. You cannot come to Ireland or go to any other country and expect to have your country here. That's not going to happen. Just be realistic. So mingle with the people that are there. I learned this originally when I went to do my master's in Mexico. I was a young graduate from engineering. And you get there and you start, why are things like this? Why people back home, they do this? No, but you're not back home. You need to realize that. You're in Ireland. And Ireland's a great place, but you need to adapt. You're the odd one out, and you need to adapt to the ways they do things here. Once you realize why they do it, and that's where I say, research the culture. Once you realize why they do here, what cultural background is behind everything, you'll understand and you'll enjoy more. And it's a great place to be. So learn everything that you can learn from the culture by being with people, but also retain your own cultural background with your own people. Well, not your own people, but the people from your own country, because they will teach you how to do and where to get the things that you miss from home as well. Look, also learn the language. I've said this in the past, and accept you will have an accent. I have an accent, but don't worry, everybody does have an accent. When I went to Mexico from Colombia, I had a Colombian accent in Mexico. It's as simple as that. So you will have an accent in English. That's okay. It's okay to have it. The important thing is to be able to communicate effectively. And unforeseen events will happen. Learn to adapt. Be as flexible as possible. Make a good network and a good support group. Have that family away from home. Make good connections with people. That is so important. That support group is amazing. I have great friends here, both Irish, Colombian, and from many other places. Have that support network. That is vital, and keep an eye in your and your family's mental health. I've seen people break down, but I've also seen how that support group and how that network really helps. There's long winters, dark days, rainy days. That takes a toll in your mind when you come from a country where all year round you have sunshine. But it's not only that, it's being away from your family, it's being away from your parents, maybe from your children. All of that really hits hard. So keep an eye on those things, because you'll get those setbacks. But that's why I say, and I'll go back to this, keep in mind, why did you come here in the first place? And that will keep you going. And finally, enjoy every second of it, because God, it is amazing, the opportunity to go abroad, to learn, to study, to work, to develop personally and professionally. It's amazing. When I was living for the first time, somebody told me, vaya, salga, pasee, disfrute, goce, y si puede, trabaje. So to say it in English, go, enjoy, travel. And if you have time, do a bit of work, because it's an experience that you're getting and you are growing so much as a person. So be aware of that. Just enjoy it. Now, going into the next phase, monitoring and controlling. Any project, you need to control what's happening. So review your situation constantly. Was it what you were expecting? Is it working for you in the short term, like developing your career, for example? Will it work in the long term? Will you secure the lifestyle you want? So think about those things constantly, because it is vital that you keep an eye on things. Do you have a pension? Will you have enough to buy a house if you plan to move permanently? Will you be getting your degree if you came here to study? Just review those things. And now, closing the project. When you're closing the project, there might be 3 possible outcomes. You may want to settle for good. You may want to go back home. Or you may want to move on to a different country. Now, I've seen a lot of people that settle here in Ireland for good. They loved it. Maybe they married somebody from Ireland. I've seen people marrying somebody from Ireland and then moving back to Colombia. So those are the possible outcomes, and you always need to keep them in mind. Now, to finalize everything, in summary, do your research, plan your move, go for it. I cannot recommend that highly. Go for it. It's an amazing experience. But also, don't be afraid to go back if it doesn't work for you, but try to experience it. So thank you very much, everybody. That's pretty much what I had to say. I hope it's helpful. And thank you, Mijo.
Well, Juan Pablo, that was amazing, and I'm really grateful to you for taking the time to go through all that with our prospective joiners from South and Central America. I think that will make a fantastic video, and on that, I just want to kind of formally thank you one more time, and thank my colleague Marina as I end the recording. You've both been fantastic.